and we have been operating since 2015. We do around 100 tours per year. As I said, most of our team of guides and operations field people are in Havana, Cuba. I myself have about 20 years of experience living in and traveling in Cuba. I spent time there as a student, as an undergraduate, lived with a family, learned to speak Spanish, traveled across the country several times, and gained love of Cuba and the Cuban people. And when Cuba opened up to American travel, that's when I started working to help Americans visit Cuba, understand Cuba, enjoy Cuba, and learn all about it. With that, I'll just let Sarah briefly introduce herself and tell a little bit about her story and how she got into this. So Sarah, why don't you take it out? Oh, and Chad's there too, so maybe he can go after.
Hi guys, sorry for the little miss like connections in there. So I'm Sarah. I'm really glad to meet you. I'm born and raised in Cuba, and I started with the company 10 years ago. When since the beginning, I started like a host, became in country manager, like, and now that I'm in US, like 3 years ago, I run in the whole operations. I'm really excited about this meeting, like to share with you the all the good things that you can do in Cuba, the amazing things that we just like can make it happen. And yeah, we are like a super open team. So anything, any questions, so we are here, guys, for you.
Chad, do you want to quickly, hi, how are you doing? Do you want to quickly just talk about how you started the company briefly and sort of your role?
Chad, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Sarah. And apologize for running a few minutes late. Had a little bit of technical difficulties with Teams. But yeah, just quick background on me. I started the company in 2016 and went to Cuba for the first time a year prior to that, and just was so inspired by the culture and the experiences and the authenticity. I had come off a backpacking trip that I did to Southeast Asia, really wanting to create something special, something unique that gets below the surface of a destination and really and creates a human connection and something that we remember, something that we can feel. And so that was the basis for the motivation to starting the company. And yeah, just super excited about what we do, and we get to create all these amazing experiences for our travelers and make an impact at the same time. And I'm here to answer any questions or be helpful in any way that I can.
Great, thanks. And just want to make sure, sorry, go ahead, Elizabeth.
I was just going to say, and Chad, the reason I found you all is because so I'm the CEO of Uniglobe, but someone who reached out to me and wanted to go to Cuba, and I was looking for a luxury, tour operator. And then that's how I found you all. And I booked a couple there. And then I booked like 40 people that were there for the cigar festival. So had an incredible experience with you all. So I really appreciate you being here. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for having us. And glad to hear about them having great experiences.
Can you all see the presentation? I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Yeah. Okay, great. Great. So Cuba is a massive island. Havana is a huge city of couple million people. Or actually, before I start, I just want to ask if anyone has questions. You can feel free to throw them out. We want to make this as helpful for you all as possible. So if there's specific things you want to know, I believe you can put them in the chat, and we can, or raise your hand, and we can hear you, hear questions. So yeah, feel free to chime in with those at any point. So Cuba is a giant island, and it has a lot to offer. The city of Havana is really multifaceted. It has an amazing history with Spanish colonial architecture. It has an amazing pre-revolutionary history with mafia history, old classic American cars that are still running on the roads. It has a beautiful waterfront promenade that's very picturesque. And all in all, it's got art, it's got history, it's got architecture, it's got a lot to do, a lot to see, great nightlife. And so certainly like Havana, I think gets lost in the Americas as a city because Cuba is so isolated, but it's really one of the gems of the Americas. It's one of the greatest cities, in my opinion, one of the greatest cities in the Americas.
It's such a bucket list, right? It's like everyone has to visit Havana at some point in their life. And there's always been this question of like, when's the best time to go? Like, you know, is it going to change? How much is it going to change? How fast is it going to change? And what's really cool about Havana right now is that, and Brian and Sarah can speak to this as well, you kind of have it to yourself, right? It's like it is the gem right now. You know, people aren't really aware because they're confused about how to get there. But as we'll go into, it's so easy. And as a result of that, you get to be like one of the insiders, right? You get to be in this hidden gem before it catches on again. And, you know, now as we're seeing this kind of like refresh around Cuba 5 years after COVID, there are a bunch of cruises that happened. The cruises were all canceled and the interest is coming back. So that there's just that little added emphasis of like, yeah, definitely if you've never been, you want to make it a bucket list to see this at some point in your life. And then the question is like, well, when is the right time to do that?
Yeah, and I would just also add, if you're someone who's traveled all over the world and seen lots of places, and you've never been to Cuba, you've never seen anything quite like Cuba in the sense that it was the epicenter of the development of the Caribbean and the New World for so many centuries, and then it fell into complete isolation for 60, 70 years. And that combination has created a really, really unique culture and a unique history and a resilience of the people that is palpable. And as soon as you land, you feel it. So I'll just say real quick, as I said before, we've been in business for 10 years. We do tours of all sizes. So we do groups, couples, honeymoons, families. But as Elizabeth said, we also do much larger groups. We can handle a 40-person group. We've done a 150-person group in the past. So we do groups of all sizes, and we do all types of levels of luxury in terms of packages. All of our trips, one thing to note, of course, Cuba is a country that has specific rules around travel, and the American government restricts travel to Cuba except for under a few certain categories and licenses. And we operate under the Support for the Cuban People travel license. And all that means is what we're doing when we're in Cuba is every traveler is engaging with Cuban people, engaging with the private sector of Cuba, the private businesses and the entrepreneurial community, and avoiding the Cuban government. And that's the key to maintaining the license and making sure that all of our trips are 100% compliant with the rules.
Just to chime in on that one for a moment. I'm sorry to interrupt, but yeah, this is like part of what makes the trip so meaningful. It complies with the license requirement. It's supporting the private sector. But these are people. These are people that live in the local communities, and they're very entrepreneurial. They're very resilient, as Brian was saying. And so, as guests, we really feel that we're truly supporting the people in a meaningful, impactful way. And just kind of going back to the origin story of the company, we've handpicked all of these different vendors and service providers, literally knocking on doors. And, we have stories of knocking on doors in the countryside and finding the tobacco farm where all the tourists are getting off the bus and they're going to this big tobacco museum experience. And it's very kitschy and it's very cheesy in some ways. And we're like going down the off the beaten path, knocking on the doors of like the real people that live there. And then Sarah just crafted this whole team. She's from Cuba, and so she has all these amazing relationships, and there's a lot of connectivity there from us in Miami all the way through every step of the way, every step of service that we provide. And then that kind of like just ties in nicely to like, as Brian, you're going into there, like the longevity, like the 10 years in business, the reviews, the number of people we've hosted, and yeah, just wanted to say that, but back over to you.
Yeah, exactly. So our tours are certainly luxury tours for people who think that Cuba is not a luxury destination. Cuba has really developed over the past 10 years, and there is a lot of great infrastructure there. There's great hotels. And so we operate at the highest level of excellence. All of our field team and all of our operations, we have guides that we train every summer. We do our own 80-hour instruction program for them every summer, training new guides. We offer VIP airport arrival, of course, transfers, and all the bells and whistles that you would need if you were doing a high-end luxury tour. We have a team on the ground for 24/7 support, and all of our groups get a local cell phone so they can call and text and be in contact with their guide in those evening hours when their guide might be not at the hotel. And the hotels themselves are also have awesome service and support for our clients. Cuba, I think one thing that we've talked a little bit about is how different and unique Cuba is. Our experiences we've developed over the past 10 years are all, you know, potentially life-changing experiences. You are meeting with real people, going to small, quiet corners of the city and of the island, and having really impactful experiences meeting local people, and understanding and learning and appreciating Cuban culture, music, art, history, food. There's just so many facets of Cuba, and so it's easy to sort of make your way, and the people are just really, I think there's something sort of, they're not jaded in many ways. In much of the world where tourism is a big business and where places are overrun with tourists, Cuba really still has this small town feel. And people really appreciate when someone from abroad comes to their country to learn and to experience their country. They're genuinely thankful, and they're generally joyful in their interactions with people.
It's
and
like
so
that
that's
hospitality. Yeah, it's like that hospitality, and like getting below the surface again here is like the authenticity that Brian's speaking to. Just to give another example, we do this tour. We call it our cultural immersion tour, where we go into local homes in central Havana. And it's a place you'd never have access to as a tourist. Like you would not know where to go. There's no real hotels around that area. But you get to meet people that live there and hear their stories and visit them in their homes and have coffee with them. And we go to the tattoo parlor, we go to the graffiti artist's home, and you just kind of sit like in his small kitchen with his mom and like hear stories about who this guy is. And then you see all of his artwork like all over the city. And so we get below the surface, and that's like some of the intangibles, to the country. And I also think, like, there's the fun stuff too. Like I kind of want to hear from the audience, like what do you guys want to do there? Like there's so much cool stuff. Like we can do convertible cars, like cigar rolling. We talk about the cigar trip, rum tasting, salsa dancing. And I know I missed the beginning of the call, but I wonder if there was any like dreaming we could do together. Like let's dream up this perfect trip on the call if people want to do that. But also no worries if that doesn't come up.
Yeah, I think, it would be great to hear, about people's thoughts, or if they have questions or want to chime in. But yeah, as Chad was saying, like social impact is a big part of what we do too. And all of our tours sort of have a direct impact on the local community, which is important. Here are just a few images. I wanted to get into some of the activities that we do that are fun, just to give people a visual sense. Our salsa lessons take place at a cute little dance center in Old Havana, and we've worked with the same people for years. They're just lovely people, and they're there to just have fun and show people a good time and teach you a few dance steps. Of course, the convertible ride down the waterfront is a huge one. There's nothing like sun setting, wind blowing through your hair, riding down the Malecon in Havana. It's a great feeling. I recommend it.
Super fun, especially after a mojito, which is timely. If people drink, that's also just gives a little enhancement to the experience.
Yes, there's the Cuba Libre, which may be more famous, but there's the mojito as well, which I think is probably Cuba's most popular drink. Rum, lime, and mint. We also do custom events. This is a photo from one of our rooftop parties that we do. When we bring groups down, we'll have a welcome party at the rooftop in Old Havana. Just a really nice way to be introduced to the country and get a sense of the people and the music and what you have in store. Go ahead, Chad.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to say anything.
Oh. The cooking class is another big favorite. Cuban food is, of course, something that we like to have our clients explore and learn about. And a cooking class is a great way to, get your hands involved and work with a local chef who teaches you how to make local traditional recipes. And then Viñales is this farming area near Havana that we like to take people to. It has tobacco farms. It has beautiful mountains called mogotes, which only exist in 2 or 3 places on the planet. So it's a really unique place with unique locals, unique people who live there and cultivate the land. So we do a lot of work out there.
That's like a whole other world. That's like a world away. Cuba's already a world away. Havana's already a time capsule. And then you do another 2 hours out into this countryside and you're just like completely off the grid, beyond the grid. And that's just really cool to be able to still experience that somewhere somewhat still in the vicinity of the United States, right? And that's kind of another cool thing to keep in mind with Cuba. It's a very exotic destination, but you don't have to get on a flight for 14 hours and 2 stops in order to get there. It's a 3-hour flight from New York. And if you stop in Miami, it's a 1-hour flight from Miami. So, yeah, that's a cool thing about Viñales.
Yeah, I mean, Viñales is just so striking and beautiful. Oftentimes people say it's one of their favorite parts of the trip. And it's like, a lot of just simple houses, small houses with thatched roofs, palm frond roofs. And then we, of course, like to get into art. Cuba has an amazing arts infrastructure, and Havana has lots of fantastic artists. So we do visits to artist homes, to artist studios, where you get to meet the artists, see their work, and hear about their formation. And of course, we go out to farms, and we have a lot of great experiences that include farmers, and of course help to impact the locals. Now, this is one thing that I mentioned earlier. Cuba has changed quite a bit in the past 10 or 15 years, and I think earlier on, when Americans were first traveling to Cuba, it was thought of as a bit of an adventurous and rustic experience. And certainly there's an element of adventure to Cuba no matter what, but we like to have our clients staying in the lap of luxury, staying in accommodations that cater to their, to their comforts, so that they can have a really engaging and fun and interesting daytime experience. But when they come home and their driver drops them back off at their hotel, they're staying in beautiful luxury boutique hotels in the city that have all the amenities of a modern hotel. So these are just a few images of some of the hotels we work with, and I think I have a few more just to give you a decent sense of it.
These are beautiful. These are old restored mansions built in the 1920s. They've been converted into boutique properties. They're run privately, not by the government. And as Brian was alluding to, like, the creature comforts, like, that really ties all this together. You have the authentic experiences, and then you also have like a nice place to stay at night that's going to be comfortable, along with the comforts of eating at the best restaurants, which is a key to having a really great Cuba trip. And then having the support of a full team a guide, a driver, which is all part of the programs that we offer. So those are like really the three key prongs to having that like creature comforts supporting the entire experience in Cuba.
Yeah, and all of these hotels are small. They're, 15 rooms. So we work directly with the owners. We have relationships with all of them. And yeah, we've had great experience working with all of them. And here I just, I think, we've talked about it a bit today, but there are just so many different areas of facets to Cuba's culture that make it such an interesting place, and such an interesting place for Americans who want to visit, since we've been so isolated from Cuba for so many years. In some ways, we're very similar to Cuba and Cubans. We were so attached historically for hundreds of years, and then we had this period of mutual isolation, in which we got to sort of develop in our own ways. But it's fascinating to go to Cuba to experience the cars, which, there are old Chevys just running around the city as jalopy taxis, that you can get in for 50 cents. And they're still keeping them running after 60, 70 years. So it's an amazing experience to just look at the visual aesthetics of Havana and see all these things that are familiar, but also completely distinct and unique from our own country and our own culture. And we've done group tours for all these sort of different interest areas. We every year we do a big cigar. We do our own cigar tours. Last year we did a cigar tour with Elizabeth for a big festival that they held every year. There is, of course, art and architecture, food, cars, music, dance, history. It's all there, and really, that's sort of like, that's just scratching the surface, because really, when you arrive in Cuba and when you start to experience the people, and sort of everything exudes the story of Cuba, which is this history that of isolation, of struggle, and of perseverance. You see it in the sidewalks, in the streets, in the people. And that's something that experience is something that you really don't have anywhere else in the world. I think it's super
Very unique. Yeah, I love I just love that there's like so much richness to the culture too. Like there's the salsa, there's the salsa festival, there's the jazz festival, there's the Cuban ballet. There's one thing that they've kind of gotten right. It's this like enriching cultural aspects that still persist, and just combine that with the resiliency of the people. It's very unique, and then to kind of get below the surface of some of those like more well-known aspects of the culture, there's all kinds of other really cool stuff there. It's a huge island. It's like half of the entire Caribbean by landmass. There's mountains, there's jungles. We're still discovering new interest groups that want to travel there. We just had a recent request for a rare flower group that was able to find this specific thing in Cuba only, and they were going to plan a whole trip around that. Another one for tennis, doing a special tennis group, and there's a unique tennis culture in Cuba. So it's kind of like it has these elements, and it's like a blank canvas that there's various interests. Some of them are more underground or more like entrepreneurial, and the common theme is just this fascinating, very interesting, very thought-provoking place that also can help like stimulate meaningful conversations within travel groups. And that's something we often hear, is like the bonding that comes from that, whether it's with a family, multi-generational family. You've got the kids, you've got the teenagers, the parents, the grandparents. They're all finding a way to talk about what this unique place means to them. What is, it's a mystery. There's an intrigue and a fascination, and so that just sets a good environment for connecting with ourselves, right? Connecting with the ones we're traveling with, as well as connecting to the hosts that are taking care of you when you're on the island.
Yeah, and I would say, adding on to that, our hosts who are, are trained in-house. One thing that we see in almost every review that we get from clients who've been on a tour is just how wonderful our hosts are. The host is with the group starting every morning, till the evening, till they go off to dinner. And every single day you have the same host that is with you throughout the day, and they're your translator, but also your expert to provide you with information and context and color, and to really tell the story of Cuba for you. And I think, Sarah has done such an amazing job training all of our hosts in a way that we really, I think they're the biggest asset for the company. And it's the thing that people, I think, mention the most. And it just adds to that experience. You go for 5 days or 7 days, but you feel like you've been gone much longer.
It's like
Because
a time dilation. Yeah, it's like, was today a day or was I here like 3 days already? It's like such a dense experience. And the host also is like the bridge into like a different world. Like it's a totally different mindset there. And they're very open. They're completely unfiltered. Completely unfiltered. They will tell you exactly what they believe. It's quite different from how many other tour companies are structured. Been on a bunch of other group tours, and often the guide is someone that comes in as like a special expert for an hour or two, and they'll tell you some very specific information about art or architecture, and then that's kind of it. And in our case, we actually don't even call them guides, we call them hosts, because they're with you the entire time. And what that helps to do is you can connect with that person really deeply and really understand like their life and their perspective. And there's things to learn there, despite a lot of the economic challenges that Cuba just faces. There's this like underlying happiness, and being grateful for what we have, right? Living in the moment, finding a way to persevere, finding a way to help one another, to be in connection with one another, and that's something that can be very inspiring to be a part of, just even for a brief 5 to 7 day trip. And the hosts really connect you into that. They help you to feel that, and that's like the door. That's like the bridge into this like totally different society from American society.
So yeah, with that, I guess that sort of, I hope that gives you a sense of what we do, our tours, a little flavor of Cuba. Thank you, Elizabeth. I was wondering if anyone had any questions or specific things that they wanted us to talk about.
Yeah, there was one question from Steve. It just said flying directly from the U.S. or via Canada. I would say from the U.S. to Miami. Would you guys agree with that? I think that's the most
Yeah.
direct way. Uh-huh.
Yep, and all of our tours, people used to go through other countries through Canada, but there are direct flights from Miami and Tampa right now. So that's the best way to do it. You're on a legal trip. You can go direct. You don't have to go via some other country. And coming back through customs and immigration, returning from your trip, it's smooth as butter, no issues.
And
You're
Steve, that's
traveling
a
with
great
us.
question. Sorry, real
Yeah.
quick. I just want to just say something. Yes, they handle the visas. That's another reason I love working with them. It's easy. You don't have to even think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We provide you with the documentation. We
Mhm.
maintain all of the documentation, so you don't have to worry about that. And we do process visas for everyone. So that's something we handle in-house as part of our tour services.
Can you talk a little bit about, like, I know people, I've seen a lot of people that love to smoke cigars, but they can't take those back to the US. But what are things people can take back? It's artwork, right? Are there any other things, or just curious on that?
Yeah, it's perfectly legal to bring back artisanal crafts, artwork, anything other than the rum that the Cuban
Right.
government produces and the cigars that the Cuban government produces. So yeah, you can bring back. We have lots of people who go down, find go into an art gallery, decide they want to purchase something, and we can also assist people in terms of shipping, if they want us to help ship things back. We've done that before.
There's some
And
cool vintage items too. like 1950s, like crystal glass. Like there's some cool like underground, like vintage in someone's home collectors that can be a nice little souvenir for like pretty cheap price. Yeah, relatively, like maybe $50 for like a authentic crystal glass.
And then we talk a little bit about cash, because that's one thing, Ryan, so many people have asked me about when they've gone there and what to take.
Yeah, it's tricky because Cuba is an all cash economy. Even Cubans are all using cash all the time. Credit cards aren't a thing, and American credit cards don't work. So it's all cash. We take care, our services, clients will pay for the tour, which includes accommodation, transportation, guide, activities, and breakfast. So so clients are only paying for lunch, dinner, tips, any discretionary stuff they want to pay for, if they want to buy art. And those we'll advise clients ahead of time so that they know how much to bring. Typically, we would say around $100 per day for covering your lunch, dinner, and tips, or 100 to 150 if you think you're going to be going out, grabbing a drink in the evening, or potentially buying something that you want to bring back. But yeah, we help with that. We facilitate that. If people, get in a bind where they run out of money, our team is there to help out, and we can help sort out that and resolve that. So yeah, we help with that.
Can you talk a little bit about the tipping policy for the hosts?
Yeah, typically we provide guidance around tips for the host and tips for the driver of the vehicle, since we have dedicated transportation for all of our tours. It's like, $10 a day, depending. If it's a large group, we'll say a little more, but it's usually it's a pretty minimal amount. And our team, we have a customer experience team that handles the group pre-trip and makes sure that they have all the information they need around, everything, what to bring, in terms of like sunblock and how to dress and comfortable shoes and tipping, entry and exit, airport stuff. All of that information we handle directly with the clients.
Yes, you can plan with me directly, Steve. That's exactly right.
And Elizabeth's got the extra insider knowledge because she's worked with us, and so she's got a lot of value-added insights that can really make your trip even better, having gone through and planned multiple trips with us already. So yeah, definitely utilize her as a resource. She's a great resource for that.
Well, this was awesome. I really appreciate you guys, and I appreciate Lisa and Steve for being here. I think Shan was here as well. And thank you all to the Cuba Candela team. I really appreciate you and our partnership, and I look forward to continuing to grow and to expose people to this incredible place.
We appreciate it. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you guys.
Thanks again. Talk soon. Take care.
Talk soon.
All right.
Have a great night.
you.
Bye-bye.